this game ends up going the distance here, simply because... Welcome to Game 4 of tonight's Hot Seat, sponsored by DingItTV, where we are able to stream at 20 to 50% less bandwidth than other streaming channels, and you're able to get high-quality streams such as this one at a bitrate that's just potentially lower, but it's actually higher, if that makes sense, compared to everywhere else. And, luckily, more or less elimination of buffering. So, all good, and we hope you're enjoying the fantastic quality on the stream this evening. But we have a game to get into. Over here in the top position, ladies and gents, on Varney Research Station, representing TeamLiquid.net. Currently 3-0 down in this best of 9. We need to see if he's able to come back, and the comeback really does have to start now. The pressure is on for Liquid Mana. His opponent, spawning in the southern position on this 2-player map. He has won 2 hot seats already, and he is en route to winning his 3rd if he keeps this momentum up. Is it going to get broken in this game? Representing my insanity, we have Petraeus. So, a pretty entertaining series from these two people so far. Generally classified by a little bit of Mana letting Petraeus play his own game. Mana's play hasn't been inherently bad. He's overextended on a couple of occasions, unfortunately, and his Game 1 push with the Sentry Immortals did not work out too well. An excellent counterattack from Petraeus meant that Mana had to recall, and from there he was on the back foot. But Petraeus, he's just been playing so solidly all evening. It's very difficult to find sort of chinks in the armor of what he's been doing. And a drone getting sent here a little bit prematurely, by the way, just so we can keep an eye on this probe in case it ends up being anything cannon related. After all, this is a 2-player map. Only now is Petraeus scouting that his opponent hasn't opened with a Forge, for example. So it's always good practice to just double check that you're not about to be slapped in the face by a whole bunch of cannons. Right, so once again we have Zergling speed followed by 0 workers in this extractor afterwards. Guys, Petraeus has won 3 games on the trot playing this kind of opening. He has no reason to change it up now. In the meantime, Mana is also continuing along the same vein, just macroing up at the moment. We'll see what his plans are a little later. He notes that this Overlord is going to be moving between the main base and his in-base natural. Potentially, that gives him a remit to place buildings here, because he knows there might be another Overlord later on in this location, there might be another Overlord later on in this location, but the one that was in the middle has now moved up here. So we do see the Stargate actually being put down almost in that precise location, and yes, I know Petraeus can just send another Overlord straight up the middle, but he's going to be focusing on the left and right first, as you can see by the position of this guy over here. So this is a really smart place to put the Stargate. Let's see if he's able to do any damage with it this time around. He really needs to get that done. Now, I believe there's no probe currently existing out on the map, so he hasn't scouted that the 3rd base is actually going down very, very early indeed for Petraeus here. And it's going to be quite some time before he's able to spot that as well, possibly with the Stargate itself. A couple of Lings are moving up here. Can they see the Stargate from the ramp? I'm not sure they can. No, okay. They're about 2 hexes away from seeing that, so that should be fine. An Oracle is now being chrono boosted, and there's no Overlord at the front of this base, so this Oracle could end up doing a lot of damage here. Let's keep an eye on its progress. The Overlord is moving in. Does it see the Stargate? The Oracle has left the Stargate. The Zerglings are picking away at the pile, and there it is. It is just been seen, but the Oracle's already halfway across the map. So it's going to be a little bit too late, I think, for no damage to be done if Spore Crawlers get built now. And there's the first Spore Crawler there. The Oracle's most of the way into the natural expansion. Let's see how much damage it can get done. There is a Queen here. The Oracle moves in. Spore Crawler only about 50% complete. And let the damage begin. 1, 2, 3. 3 drones. 4, 5. More and more, ladies and gentlemen, this Oracle is trying its best to get featured on an episode of Sesame Street, but unfortunately, it only gets 5 kills for now. And in the meantime, a little bit of anti-focus there from Mana as 4 Zerglings, now they can't do tremendous amounts of damage, but are inside the natural expansion, managing to kill off a worker as well. Excellent play coming out of our Mind Sanity Zerg. Only one worker. We're not going to absolutely panic and say this is ridiculous or anything like that. But this second Zergling spots the Void Ray. This is huge, because a follow-up Void Ray all-in is a massive danger for the Mind Sanity player from this position. He does know that the third base is going down as well, but as many people who watch StarCraft 2 will know, you always have to respect the Void Rays, and players that don't end up losing games. Petraeus is also a little bit supply blocked at the moment as well, so things not quite going his way here in game number 4. It remains to be seen whether or not this is going to turn into a devastating attack. The third base looks like it's just going to be held for now. Mana isn't trying to turn this into an all-in or something like that. And here we go. More and more work is getting picked off. We're up to 6 kills on this Oracle, but the Spore Curl is going to be able to chase it away from the third base. Worker situation 56. Whoa. I went 58, ladies and gents, now, to 44 in favor of Petraeus, but this third base is going down without issue. And, well, that's a pretty brave Overseer, knowing that there are these air units around, but he will be able to scout approximately nil, unless he sees this Twilight Council. But, at the end of the day, you're going to be getting those upgrades eventually anyway. And I've just noticed that these are basically Christmas trees inside those biomes, which is kind of cute, actually. I really approve. They look like really nice holiday destinations for one person. I assume that's where they sleep. Nah, actually, scratch that. I'm not really sure what's going on there. But someone's doing some welding or something inside. We'll be keeping an eye on that. Oracle, meanwhile, back. We're up to 9 kills, ladies and gentlemen. The Count is proud of this one. And there might be some scope to do a little bit of damage over here on the left-hand side. The Hydralisk Den has also been spotted, so crucial bit of scouting there from Mana, by the way. He knows the kind of composition that Petraeus is going to be moving into. We're not going to see Swarm Hosts early on in this game. We are going to be seeing Ling Hydra or potentially Roach Hydra a little bit later on. But at the moment, we just have those Zerglings. He's going to try and put a bit of pressure on. With the Hydralisk mobility upgrade as well, thanks to the speed those Zerglings possess, this could be a very mobile Zerg army he's fighting against. And I'll tell you what's not very mobile, Void Rays. So this could be Petraeus' play. He might be trying to counterattack once again in multiple positions to try and stop this. And we have the female Karak here, who's going to get to witness all of the action firsthand. It doesn't look like she cares very much. Nope. Ling's now with the Hydras outside the third base location. He's not really going to get any damage done here, guys. There's just a little bit too much army and a few too many force fields. Good placement of Zealot. Don't allow those in again. That would be highly embarrassing indeed. And, yeah, these Stalkers are going to be able to comfortably cover that off. There is no second place, by the way, for him to attack right now. There are no Mutalisks on the field. So he's going to have to go for some sort of frontal assault. Mana only has to worry about defending in a single location right now. And it looks like he's getting closer and closer to taking this engagement. I'd like to see a couple more units out the front, really soaking out some damage. This is basically pure Stalkers at the moment. Where are the robotics units? The robotics bay is there. Do we have... Well, I don't know. I would have liked to see a couple of Zealots, even if they're just absorbing fire from the Hydralisk, so that the Stalkers can get in position. But we've seen players win and lose who are much better than me, of course, with and without both. So never us mind. And ladies and gentlemen, 12 kills, 13 kills. This 13? 13, there we go. 14 kills. This Oracle is definitely paying for itself this game. Mana is having a much better game number 4 than he did first 3 here. And he is up to 123 supply, now 130. Very respectable against the 148 of Petraeus. He's building a very, very solid army here. If we take a look at the number of gateways he's got, well, it's up to 6 and counting at the moment, a lot of them at the third base location, but his army size is comparable to that of the Zerg player, and if the Lings in front disappear, Petraeus, he can't really run that fast with these Hydras. Yes, they've got the movement speed upgrade, but, RIP Oracle. You will be missed. Possibly the MVP unit of this game so far. I think most of chat will agree. And we have Infestors coming out behind this. Alright, Pathogen Glands, ladies and gentlemen, and Infestors are going to come into play. We're going to be gunking up some of the Protoss army, or so says Petraeus. That could end up being a little bit difficult here, because once we get more and more Colossi on the field... wait, what? Oh, okay. For some reason I heard a zap, and it luckily was on the unbuildable plate, but that's when the Colossus moved behind the Mothership Core, and I thought just for a second that the army killed the Colossus, and I was like, no! But luckily the Colossus is there. Ignore me, ladies and gentlemen. Alright, Petraeus, seeing that the army's moving out on the right-hand side, by the way, great placement of this Zergling, is now moving out on the left to try and go for a counterattack. He's been doing this all evening to great effect, but he is unable to get past the Zealot at the moment. Force field needs to go on there, and the army is going to be heading back. He is delaying the push out here from the Protoss player constantly, and doing a fantastic job of it, but the fourth base is now being taken by Mana. He basically hasn't gotten to this point in any of his first 3 games. He's now at 162 supply versus a not yet maxed out Zerg. He's feeling increasingly confident, and back home, Petraeus is having to adjust his army composition appropriately. So we have mainly Hydralisks here. We've got Vipers coming in, and an Ultralisk Den on the way now. So this is getting super late game. And the composition here is going to be very, very interesting indeed. A couple of Zealots and a bunch of Cannons, plus the defensive Void Ray, now up to 5 kills. It's going to be able to stop this for now, and Mana is now the one being aggressive. This looks like a very scary attack indeed. He's getting himself into a really good position, by the way, to sort of defend this choke. He needs to make sure that this Spore Crawler doesn't actually kill off the Colossi, and here comes the Zerg army, one abduct into the Colossus. Wow, that DPS is ridiculous, and there is the recall. So Mana does a bit of damage. He takes out that hatchery here, resisting the urge to go ahead and take on the army, which I think is a good call, and now he's warping in a lot of Zealots with that Warp Prism into the main base as well. These Zerglings that have been morphed in to deal with it, they're going to crumble like apples, ladies and gentlemen. There was a pun in there somewhere, but unfortunately I lost it halfway through my train of thought. Never mind. And the Ultralisk Cavern, of course, has been seen. The big danger for our Protoss here are the Infestors. We haven't seen a fungal growth in anger yet this game, and I'm pretty sure Mana knows that is the biggest threat right now. He's moving back out with this army, but he's going to have to recall again if we see the fungals land on a whole bunch of these guys. And look at how clumped up that is. That's really the danger. He's moving in, he's sniping off bases as he's moving out, and he's playing that fantastically right now. He's also got +3 attack now as well, so his army is very, very well upgraded. He's getting a lot of heavy hitters. Void Rays and Colossi are now being produced from Mana, and this is just going to do him so well in the late game. Now, the Warp Prism in the meantime is back, and he's trying to kill off these Hydralisks that are chasing down the Warp Prism. Yep, the Warp Prism is going to live. Fantastic harassment from Mana this game. Unfortunately, Zealots harassing Ultralisks isn't really a fight that ends up well for the Zealots, as you just saw. Great harass. I wouldn't even mind seeing a second Warp Prism, to be perfectly honest. I see no reason why not. This has done Mana really well this game. I'd love to see him do that again. In the meantime, this MVP scouting Zergling is still on the right-hand side of the map. Control of this watchtower is finally going to get ceded to the Protoss player, and Mana has complete map control and sees that this base is trying to get taken out in the center of the map, but he also sees that there are Ultralisks here as well. So we're going to have to see higher Void Ray counts, and there we go, double Void Rays now in production. Is that the second and third Stargate? It is. So there are 3 Stargates now, and well, this is about as late game as it's going to get in a PvZ. I get the feeling this game could end up going for quite some time. A lot of hallucinated Phoenixes. We're going to see... well, that's a random blink forward. I guess that happened. And more and more harassment is the order of the day here. Petraeus now using these Hydralisks to try and stop the Warp Prism. Will successfully do that. Wow, that's a lot of spine crawlers that says, please don't harass my main base again. This is really frustrating. Oh, pardon me, this is actually the natural, where the Evolution Chambers and the Ultralisk Cavern is. A small counterattack with Hydralisks. Well, Hydralisks do actually quite well against Void Rays, so we need to be careful with that defensive unit there. There we go. Moving it away. Excellent micro coming out of the Protoss, and there go the Hydras. That's mainly because Petraeus wants to be freeing up his army supply for something else, so no biggie at all. And now we have Le Fleet Beacon coming out from Mana, as well as High Templars and Storm. This is late game coming out here. Love to see me some fantastic Storms. And you know what? Against units that are just trying hard to get to the front of the battle to do their damage, like the Vipers, like the Hydralisks, like the Infestors, some Storms further back could put all of these units within range of the heavy hitters of the Protoss army. So this could end up working really well, and it will come down to the engagement. Both sides have a very scary army, and what happens in the couple of frantic seconds when they first engage each other is going to dictate the outcome of this game. Unless, of course, you get to a position where they both have 10,000 minerals in the bank, in which case, fine, we get to do that a couple of times. We'll wait and see. No cash hosts coming out, though, from Petraeus. He's determined not to use them. PvZ late game without swarm hosts. It does happen, guys, honestly. And we're about to see one right here. A couple of Hydralisks coming to stop this Stalker hit squad. Excellent blink here from Mana, but he's moving out on the left-hand side now, continuing to be a little bit aggressive, trying to show Petraeus that he is there so that he can't move the entire army over to the right-hand side, and so that this hit squad can do what it's designed to do, which, believe it or not, isn't die. But that's what it's currently doing. It hasn't actually done too much damage. We've got the main army moving out onto creep now, picking off those creep tumors, which is most excellent. Needs to be careful about these void rays so that they don't get sneakily picked off here. And wow, these 4 stalkers are suddenly doing a decent amount of damage. Picking off a couple of overlords eventually? No, maybe? No. Okay, well, this guy's going to get to live. And picking off the queen as well inside the main base, so that's pretty fine and dandy. And Petraeus now, well, he's kind of sitting happy. He's got 3-3 on his Ultralist, and he's saying, okay, so what you're doing right now is you're avoiding a straight-up fight. This looks pretty clear. So if you're avoiding a straight-up fight, can I not just keep expanding and say, look, I don't actually think you can do anything about this? He's got more bases than his opponent. This gold base has not been taken, for example. And it very much has been taken. Hang on a second. These bases have been taken on this side of the map is what I meant to say. And this gold base here has been taken. But interestingly, not mining very much just yet. Just putting the static defense down. But we're not even thinking about taking this gold, right? From Mana's point of view. So potentially, if this goes to super late game, and Petraeus doesn't trade evenly, and they have kind of equal banks, this will favor Mana, guys, because at the end of the day, he'll be able to mine more later on in the game. He's taken this central location now as well. We have some harassment from these stalkers over here at this space. I love the hold position here, doing a tremendous amount of work. Really, really good job. A queen looking like it's going to go down as well. Number of workers going down. And now the main army with the mothership in tow is going to come over here and absolutely tear down the gold base. This space looks like it might be... Oh, actually, it's only a bunch of links. 3 stalkers might be able to hold them off for long enough. But in the meantime, the gold base is gone. We need to be very careful here. The engagement with the infestors and the ultras is going to be coming through. Does Petraeus have enough? He's up to 186 supply versus 183 from Mana. Mana has got the +3 attack. Excellent fungal growth on so many of the units, and he is going to recall. He moves back to the central base location. This Nexus has not fallen, ladies and gentlemen. And we have a little bit of harass over here, but nothing major. And he's going to move back onto creep once again. Kill off the creep tumors and slowly march towards this central Zerg base. So... a lot of bases being taken out from Mana this game, and not so many from Petraeus. Mana currently with the upper hand, I would say, and he's about to max out as well. Both players with a very healthy bank. And this Void Ray Colossus composition with the Mothership Core is so far doing our Protoss player a lot of good. Interestingly, do we have any Vipers on the field? No. We only have 2 Vipers, guys. And here they are. But we have got 11 Swarm Hosts. So we're moving into Swarm Host territory. And I'm not sure if this is going to end up being the correct play. With the Mothership and this many Colossi, only having 2 Vipers to make those abducts could make the battle tricky. I guess the Ultralist survives so long, maybe, that he can just run in there and kill the Colossi on the ground. But that's a risky strategy to take, especially now that the Protoss is going into Tempest. I'm not sure that's the greatest idea. And look at this Mana. He's just looking very, very solid now. If only we saw this from game number 1. He's now having to fight back from 3-1 down, but he's doing a great job here on Vani Research Station. We're 26 minutes in to game number 4, and he's absolutely tearing through the creep, trying to move to the central location, and Petraeus is going to be forced to engage. There is the abduct. It looks like the mothership is going to get abandoned by... Yep, there we go. It does go down, but look at the effectiveness of this army right now. Tempest behind this as well. We've got the High Templars from Mana waiting to die. Oopsie daisy, waiting to die, but look how much damage is being done behind it. Guardian Shield coming up. Archon's in the mix as well. Is he going to be moving further on to creep? Another Mothership Core is coming down. And these Voiders are actually doing quite a lot of damage. But there are Queens, luckily, to support this army and prevent that from being too much of a headache for our Zerg. And I have to say, Mana didn't quite handle that engagement as well as we could, because I actually think there was opportunity there maybe for the Mothership to just move back as soon as it was abducted. And I think it would have required a second abduct, for example. But... Mana, right now, he's continuing to showcase his authority. As far as straight-up engagements is concerned, he just has to be a little bit careful. He doesn't want to accidentally lose all of this army, and we have a lot of Corruptors on the way as well. And they are decent against Void Rays, extremely good, of course, against Colossi. But we have to see some very, very strong counter-attacking now from Mana, because he has just about taken half the map, but there are going to be counter-attacks against these bases. Look at the gold. It's not actually mining yet, and there are going to be swarm hosts that are launching locusts against them. We've got a couple of DTs, actually, to deny this gold as well. So Mana just going to be utilizing a bit of that multitasking in this game to say, well, how about I starve you out of minerals? And that potentially is fine, but unfortunately, because Swarm Hosts spawn free units, Mana can't just do this forever. And here we go. We have the DTs now. Ooh, one of them will go down, but a second one is going to try and stop this hatchery from completing. It's going to be close, but I think the hatch technically will go down. It'll go down at about half health, though, and with the Overseer, actually, Ein Ultralisk is probably comfortably enough. And, ooh, says the Dark Templar, as we have a mini engagement here at the middle base location. It's just going to be the Locust, though, and Mana has to be thinking about how he can move forward against this. He doesn't want to be fighting these Locusts non-stop. There's the replacement mothership. 5 Tempests on the way as well. And now we have the standard, ladies and gentlemen, 29-minute and 57-second Ultralisk harass here at the gold base. This Nexus is going to go down. No question about it. Mana needs to respond. His gold base has been taken down. Petraeus' gold is now up, although there seems to be a theme in this game of not wanting to mine from gold bases, but that's really not important right now because look at the banks. We've got 4 and 8k minerals and gas for Petraeus versus 5 and 3k from Mana. Now, in the long run, gas supply is going to be really crucial here because all of these late-game Protoss units require so much gas, but that also makes his current army a lot scarier as well. I'd love to see some storms from these High Templars. We haven't seen too many of them this game so far. A couple of them, maybe even just one preliminary one on the Locust so that he can move forward and be very, very aggressive would be fantastic. A couple of Ultras now harassing the middle location, and I think this is actually going to force Mana back. He can't really afford to lose this Nexus unless he starts killing bases from the Zerg, and, well, Petraeus seems to have heard me there because he's like, oh, okay, you can have this back then, don't even worry about it. But this right-hand side base is very, very much gone. And Mana needs to do some damage elsewhere. Petraeus has all of the upgrades. This is ridiculous. There are so many white dots on this bottom bit of the screen, ladies and gents, that Petraeus basically just looks like a movie trailer right now. So, what is Mana's response going to be? Yes, he's got a bank. No, it's not as big as Petraeus is. Yes, he needs to kill off a couple of bases. Is basically the summary of the game at this point. More and more creep troopers getting placed down now as the Locust and the Swarm Host move further and further ahead. They're at 3-2 upgrades, and by the way, the last +3 upgrade is about to complete as well. More Infestors en route, and we have got, an Infestor hit squad, interestingly, with Infested Terrans going up against this base. I don't think it's going to take out the Nexus, and these two guys are going to be able to rest up here. They don't actually have too much energy left, so I'm not too concerned. A good attempt. Oh, he needs to be a little bit careful about accidentally losing those probes as well. I mean, Mana had more than enough units to repel it. We've got a bit of counterattacking going on now inside the main base. This is great. An extractor and potentially a hatchery could go down as well. And, it's the whole Zealots versus Ultralisk thing again. And remember what we said beforehand. Oh, and once again, the building is left alive, being so kind with this harassment. This has to be a force that Mana pushes forward with, surely. So many Tempests on the field right now. I mean, guys, we have 11 Swarm Hosts and 8 Infestors, so that's pretty serious late game here. But we have a Mothership, 6 High Templars, 8 Void Rays, and 14 Tempests on the field. We need to be getting those connecting with Ultralisks, and right now that is not something that Mana is doing. These Ultras, this time around, they're going to be able to take out this base, which means that Mana has to commit to being aggressive at this point. He doesn't want to be so far down on money for so long in this game. Will take out the gold base. With help from the Mothership, takes out, in fact, everything that's there. He doesn't even need to take out the Spine Crawlers. What he needs to do is just kill off as much of this army as he can. Preemptive Storm to keep the Corruptors away. Cannot complain about that. Swarmers are trying to bug him from behind, but I think he can now move into the main base location and sort of hold this high ground with his Colossi if he wants to. And, even better, he might be encroaching upon, actually, the Swarm Host position right now, and that could spell trouble for Petraeus. He's got a fantastic bank, but look at how many air units here. This Protoss air army is looking very scary, and this is the response we were looking for coming out of Mana. Petraeus is going to be forced to engage at some point, at some angle, and, well, recalling is the choice made by Mana here. He's saying, actually, I want to take an even more favorable engagement. I'm not interested in fighting you when and where you want me to fight you. I'll decide those terms, thank you very much. So we're moving into the 35-minute mark now in this game. Mana is doing all right. He's currently mining a little bit less than his opponent, but bear in mind, he's got a lot of resources at this base still to take, and this gold base more or less hasn't been taken. In fact, these Ultralisks are sort of sitting pretty and camping out here. This base on the left is going to go down now. Now, this can be evenly contested between both sides, so treat that as a neutral if you like. And continuously killing off these static defenses and trying to be as cost efficient as possible. Revelation on those Corruptors also means that the Tempest can target them from an absolutely huge distance as well. So right now, Mana is playing the late game card really well, but don't forget, this is going to tire both players out substantially, and this is only game 4 of a potential best of 9. Mana also definitely doesn't want to lose this game because that puts him on match point. 3-1 though is a very, very different story from 4-0. Slowly killing off these static defenses before he deals with the Locust here, allowing the Colossi to bop them up. And where's the response? We need to think about what the response is. Petraeus is basically going full Corruptor. This could be very dangerous because Corruptors, yes, they do well against Colossi, but Void Rays take them out very, very fast as well with Prismatic Alignment. If he loses this army once, he might not get a second chance to reproduce it all, because by the time he reproduces that many Corruptors, even with his massive bank, I think we get into a situation where Mana would have killed a couple of bases by then, and it gets increasingly hard for things not to snowball. So let's keep an eye on the situation on the ground here. The 2 Ultralisk Kit Squad, ladies and gentlemen, is going to prevent this base from being taken one more time. And, oh, hello, Abduct on the Oracle, not really appreciating the position of said Oracle. And yes, this base is going to get cancelled once again. So, really nice from Petraeus, waiting until every single bit of the army is out of sight, and then going, this base is mine, this base is mine, this base is mine. And Mana now trying to force the issue, 100% taking apart that hatchery, no questions asked. Is he going to move on, though, to the main base? I think he really needs to move on and take this base out, but also potentially the tech. And that exists here. The hive, both the evolution chambers, exists over there. Is he going to do that and also put himself into a potential choke position where he can effectively engage the Zerg army? He's getting closer and closer to it, but we're first taking a look at this base here. The army, well, these Locusts won't stop this army for long, and Swarmhosts are great guys, but on their own against an army like this could prove to be a little bit difficult. Petraeus is lining himself up for an engagement. Are we going to see, potentially, another recall from the Protoss player? A couple of Corruptors go down very, very quickly indeed. The Mothership needs to be very careful. You don't really want that straight out in front. You kind of want that towards the rear of your army so that the Vipers aren't able to abduct it quite as easily. And we have, once again, a little bit of a standoff. Harassment here by Zealots means that this gold base goes down for Petraeus as well. Excellently played there from Mana. He's currently a 187 to 193 supply, both sides with their bank still. So it's not straightforward to tell from the supply who is leading this game. Corruptors, in the meantime, continuing to fly around, but they haven't engaged this army in a straight-up fight. And have we got... Well, we don't actually have all of the upgrades here. We could use more armor and more shield upgrades here from Mana, but he has opted not to take them as things stand so far. Couple of Locusts just getting mopped up. Notice how they're basically not doing damage to the Protoss army at the moment. And in the meantime, little bits of hit squads, this time Infestors and Infested Terrans, are able to deny this base once more. Petraeus' strategy is to stop Mana from getting this base and to stop Mana from getting this base and to win the longer war of attrition. Mana, on the other hand, needs to try and win some sort of decisive engagement so he can actually push Petraeus back to his back 4 bases. And once he does that, I actually reckon Mana is just going to steamroll and win the game outright. But that is such an important step that if he doesn't do it, I really think Petraeus can just come back and absolutely win this. Mana's giving him a lot of time to prepare right now, and I feel like Mana has the opportunity to be a little bit more aggressive, even though he's in a fantastic position. So a couple of Zerglings moving across to try and recheck this base. Unfortunately for him, this base is taken and the army is protecting it, so that's not going to be too useful right now. Once again, taking apart the static defense here on the right-hand side. Mana's bank, by the way, has now surpassed Petraeus' bank as far as minerals is concerned. But on gas, of course, due to that Protoss maxed out army, he is still lagging behind his opponent just a little bit. Where is the big fight and when is it going to happen? We have Swarmhost over here on the left-hand side gold base in case any sort of flank attacks happen. The main army is going to be over here, and it has been Revelation as well. Good Storm to soften up those locusts, and really, you want to be using that so that you can start moving forward with your army. Otherwise, you're just using the energy for no particular reason. More Revelation is going to get cast down, and Mana once again is actually going to be moving back, and this allows Petraeus, by the way, just to continuously mine from the gold base location. And at the moment, that's going to become quite important because Mana basically isn't mining. He needs a lot of workers at this base ASAP, or he's going to start eating into his bank significantly. He's only down to 700 gas now, remember, and even though his army is really, really scary, 7.5k gas is what Petraeus has got. He's moving in. It looks like he wants to take this engagement. Excellent first storm. A decent, wow, a very good second and third storms as well. These storms were an ideal front engagement here from Mana. Is he going to push the issue? He's taking out these spore crawls, and it looks like this position is going to have to get abandoned by Petraeus. Fantastic way to start that engagement off, and Mana is definitely going to be able to take out this base. We can see it getting abandoned here by Petraeus already. He's moving back though, potentially defend this. Infested Terrans once again trying to harass this gold base location, and Mana maybe being a little bit indecisive there, but is going to get around to taking out these spore crawlers, to taking out that hatchery and saying, if you're not giving me a gold base, I'm not giving you one either. Oh wow, I think these infested Terrans are going to die before this Nexus is killed as well. So good news there for Mana as he takes out this particular hatchery. The Swarmers are here, but they're not doing substantial damage at the moment. A single Archon goes down by the looks of things, and this base really needs to get taken if Mana wants to win the game. Absolutely has to. This Nexus isn't dead, amusingly, but these Infestors will make sure it's dead very, very quickly. A Dark Templar is here to save the day from things I cannot see. Using things I cannot see. That's not awkward at all. Right, Mana moving out now into the middle of the map. We're at the 45-minute mark, and he's looking to try and push into this central base. A lot of the drones that were mining gold minerals before are now defending this point. I don't think strategically Petraeus can afford to lose this point, this base, if he wants to win the game. But he's actually helping Mana out a little bit by going ahead and siphoning some of that life. This gold base is going down. Not even a cancel there. But Petraeus still has a bit of a bank. He's got 2.3k minerals, but Mana is getting ever closer to dealing with this base here. And it looks like Petraeus is longing for another fight. Excellent storms once again to start this off. And even though we had some really good abducts to pick apart that one Tempest at the beginning of the engagement, all of the Corruptors on about 60% health now. Really, really well played there at the beginning of the engagement for Mana. Patiently waiting for an opportunity for the storms to do maximum damage. But now he needs to continue to move in. The buildings are slowly disappearing. He needs to try and pick off this hatchery. Another bit of harassment with these infested Terrans against this Nexus. It's going to be able to get thwarted, though. And it looks like a Dark Templar is getting left alone to try and fend them off. He will be able to do so in the meantime, thanks to that detection. Ooh, infested Terrans being chucked at the army. Oh, an excellent Fungal on these Void Rays. And once again, Petraeus is going for round 2. A good storm. Oh, do we see follow-up storms? Yes, the energy from the High Templars isn't completely exhausted. A great concave, but also look at the damage these storms are doing. The Corruptors are now starting to completely disintegrate. The Mothership gets abducted, is on low health, but stays alive, and Petraeus goes down to 96 supply. GG! The comeback begins now, ladies and gentlemen. A 47-minute game on Varney Research Station, and Mana wins this war of attrition. He now bounces back to 3-1 in this best of 9.